All right, so in the last video, we were getting set up for the finishing touches. So we had added a submit button and we have added the action for the form and, and the action would be to go to actionpage.php. The only problem is that we didn't have any PHP. So let's go over to course documents. Okay, course documents, there it is. And let's go to files for the HTML form folder here, and from here I'd like you to just copy this chunk of code, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because we're not covering PHP in this class, but this is a little bit of an introduction to what PHP can do. Basically it's a scripting language that it deals with data. One of the things that it does is that it could deal with the form data, okay? So I would like you to copy this and then paste it into a new file. So you go File, New, and then paste it in there, okay? And what you need to do is to save it. So when you save it, go to File, Save As, and you would save it as actionpage.php, okay? Actionpage.php, and then go save it, okay? So now I already have done that. So what you would end up with is then this here, actionpage.php, and it should look like that. Now let's take a quick look at it without going into too much detail about the PHP. So a PHP file sort of looks like an HTML file, still has the doc type there, and HTML, and the head tag, and the body tag, and everything looks the same except for this chunk of PHP code here, okay? So welcome here is just text, okay? So welcome is just text. What we have here is the PHP code block here, okay? So this is what makes this a PHP page. Everything else looks like an HTML page. So here is a code block. It begins with this open, okay? This is open and this is the close, and here is the code. Okay, so this is where it gets the F name. So where is F name? Let's go back to here. F name is here. So it's going to get whatever you input F name. Okay, and it knows to do this because of your name here. All right. So without this, it wouldn't know to do this. So that's why your name and ID is very important. All right. So I would like you to create this, save it, and then now when you go test it, so if I was to go into into my form here, right, and go to packages, view in browser, so if I were to go here and then write yin and then submit it, this happens. It doesn't, this kind of looks weird. It just shows me the code that's in my PHP file. Now, why is that? It's because I'm testing it locally, okay? So if you remember, I don't know if you remember from a long time ago in the beginning of this class, this course, I talked about how, PHP code is server side. So on the browser side, on the client side here, on the browser side, the browser cannot render the PHP code, okay? It cannot render it. It can show it, but it cannot read it. It cannot do what the PHP tells it to do. Okay, it needs to be on the server side. So the server side, on the server side, that is where your PHP gets rendered. So which means that we have to go upload it using CyberDuck. Okay, so using CyberDuck, I have to upload it. So I've uploaded my form.html and my action page.php. So those two things, I've uploaded it. All right, and I'm just going to, there we go. So here, oh, this isn't it. So I'm gonna go here, yin mount, and I'm gonna go to yin saffron form. Okay, so here's my form, and this is not the same one. It's the same file, but it's not the same thing as looking at it locally on my computer. So this is on the server, right? So now I'm going to enter yin, and then I'm going to submit, okay? And it says welcome yin. It goes to the PHP and it says welcome, right? It says, where is it? It says welcome. That's just text. and then it gets the F name, which is yin. Okay, so it reads that. So it does something with the data. Okay, this is a very basic example of what it can do. It can do many more things like put it in the database or, you know, add to other things. So, but we'll just leave it as here. I just wanted to show you what happens to the data that gets entered into the field. You need PHP to process it. All right, so let's move on now that we have covered that. I also wanted to talk about the required attribute. So the input required, okay, attribute specifies that an input field must be filled before submitting the form. So the required works with the following input types like text, search, URL, telephone, email, password, date pickers, numbers, checkboxes. You can do that too if somebody didn't check at least one thing, or radio if they didn't check at least one radio item, or when you're uploading files and things like that. So, okay, so here we have very similar to what we have done. We're just adding a required attribute in there. Okay, so where you would go is in your forms. Just add in here, this is required. Okay, and save. So now when I don't enter it, it won't let me submit the form. Okay, so let's go view it, and this is just viewing locally. So if I leave this blank and I try and go submit, what does it do? It says please fill out this field, and this message and how it looks depends on the browser that you're on. Okay, so if you're using a different browser, that will look a bit different. All right, so there you have it. Now we know how to create a form. We know the role that a PHP file would play in processing the input data that the users put into the fields. But most importantly, we know how to set up the HTML form, and then later we can add CSS to it.